Hey guys, and welcome back to the sickness demo. So, let's just jump right back in. This must be Markus's doing. He knows I need money, and that I won't be able to pay him back unless I accept his job offer. Furthermore, Markus sent the money straight to my sister, eliminating the possibility of me refusing or returning the money. But how did he get the money to my sister so early? Did he know ahead of time that Mudo would refuse to pay me? And this is all just... What are you waiting for? Come on, get it while it's hot. Interrupting my agitated thoughts, Sarah took me by the hand and led me into the living room. Sitting on the table in front of the couch were placemats, paired with shiny cutlery, more goods we didn't own mere hours ago. Further to that, 2 steaming plates entered my vision moments later as Sarah made another quick stop at the kitchen, bringing with her a heavenly scent. Come on, put down the money and eat. As intrigued as I was by the scene before me, the thought of putting down the cash-filled envelope had yet to cross my mind. After all, before I could relax and eat dinner, there was still something I needed to clear up. I will, but before that, how and when did you get this envelope? Didn't your boss tell you? The envelope was mailed here sometime today. Well, I get that envelopes are made to be mailed, but an envelope with this much money in it? That's just careless. And extremely suspicious. I hadn't really thought about that. I just found it, slipped under the door before I got home. That isn't much to go on, but it does confirm my earlier suspicion. Sarah gets home hours before I do. If this money came from Markus, he really must have known what would happen ahead of time. Damn it, feels like I'm being played by that bastard. Enough about that. Sit down and eat already. You'd better not be stalling because you're afraid to eat my cooking. What? Of course not. Though it is true that she's never cooked for me before. Oh well, it certainly smells nice enough. Wow, this is actually pretty good. It might be because I've been eating instant food for weeks on end, but this tastes like something I'd actually pay for. I thought it might taste better if a certain someone wasn't analyzing every bite I take. Maybe some feedback will get Sarah off my back. It's good. Well, it is what she's waiting to hear. This tastes great. You did really well. Of course I did. Just who do you think you're talking to? On the other hand, I should know better than to stroke her ego by now. Whatever the case, it really is nice to be eating real food again. What are you talking about? It's only been a couple weeks, you know. For you, maybe, but I've gone from a month of hospital food straight to nothing but instant noodles. Oh, right. I guess it has been a while for you. As much as I try to sympathize with Sarah, my life hasn't been so grand lately either. After suffering a severe head injury and losing months' worth of memories as a result, I received the grim news that our parents had been killed in a car crash. Worse, since the circumstances surrounding the crash were deemed suspicious, their assets were frozen, leaving Sarah and I without a dime. Finally, without any close relatives who we could rely on, I had little choice but to quit school and find a job, assuming responsibility for Sarah's well-being. For now, after suffering so much hardship in such a short amount of time, being able to indulge in a peaceful home life like this is a dream come true. Either way, you're right, it is nice. It feels like we've finally gotten some piece of our old lives back. I couldn't agree with you more. And with that in mind, dear sister, what will be the next step of the Tesla family restoration project? The... what? If we're going to restore our lives to what they were, we need to plan out what we're going to do. What's next? A car, a bigger TV, a live-in maid? Like I'd let you get a live-in maid, you pervert. But you do have a point. We should have some kind of plan to manage from now on. What do we need next? There are a lot of things still missing from this house. The facilities work, and we have minor luxuries like a television and a refrigerator. but it's still a far way off feeling like home. It's not something we need to figure out right now. Just give us some thought.
Right. I shouldn't get too excited about spending money we don't even have yet. Besides, we should be going to bed soon anyway, so...
Right, we should get a second bed.
Uh-huh?
I mean, even if there's only one bedroom in this house, there's still room for another bed. That way we wouldn't need to share anymore. I'm sure many people would get the wrong idea if I said that I sleep with my sister, but there's nothing really dubious at play here. This house only has a single bedroom, and until now we couldn't afford a second bed. Furthermore, when I suggested that I take the couch, Sarah insisted that I needed to sleep properly for work, and I could tell that she didn't want to be left alone in an unfamiliar house. Given the situation, I'd say our decision was correct.
Oh, that's a waste of money.
It is? But don't you want a bed of your own again? I mean, surely you're sick of...
Focus on things we need, not things we want. Besides, it's getting late. We should think about it tomorrow.
Huh. Guess my idea wasn't as bright as I thought. Maybe Sarah isn't ready to sleep alone yet after all. Regardless, Sarah was right about one thing. We shouldn't get too excited about spending money we don't even have yet. I should have told Sarah where that money came from, and that there might not be any future payments like it. But I let the atmosphere go to my head, afraid to break the mood. For the first time since our parents died, Sarah was happy, and if tonight pans out, I'd be satisfied with merely prolonging her happiness, even just temporarily. After taking a shower and storing my earnings, I retreated to my bedroom for a few hours of sleep. Sarah fell asleep by my side, tightly clinging to my torso, greedily stealing my body heat until I too lost consciousness. Unfortunately, as nice as a peaceful, relaxing night in a warm bed sounds, tonight that pleasure will be short-lived. Whatever Markus has planned, midnight is the deadline he gave me, and I don't plan on being late. Midnight meetings and corpse handling aside, the fact of the matter is that Markus has already compensated me for work not done yet, not to mention the promise of more to come. Whatever reservations I have about this, I can't afford not to go. At the very least, I need to hear him out and see what he has in mind. And if the job he has lined up for me is as violent and well-paid as my night so far would suggest, then there are worse ways to make a living. Eyeing the clock on the wall facing our bed, I snuck away from my sister's side, careful not to wake her. I slowly removed her arms from around me, replacing my body with the pillow I had been using until moments prior, then tiptoed out of our bedroom and through the living room, not making a sound the entire trip. It's a shame to have to leave her side like this, but tonight, there's somewhere else I need to be. Following the unfamiliar route detailed to me earlier in the day, I made my way to a part of town I never thought I'd need to visit. Among the many districts of Richmond, this is one of the poorest, and definitely not a good place to be at this time of the night. There's no police presence to speak of, most of the stores are closed or abandoned, and there's absolutely zero maintenance being done. As soon as Markus told me where we'd be meeting, I knew the job he had lined up for me couldn't be legal. Just what am I getting myself into here? Jeez, took you long enough. I was beginning to think you'd chicken out. The moment Markus and I met face to face, he opened with his usual level of compassion. Chickened out of what? I don't even know why I'm here. You're here because it's one of the few places in town where someone like you can actually make money. You know that isn't what I mean. I'm in a shoddy neighborhood in the middle of the night, prepared to make money from legally questionable work, and you're still only telling me the bare minimum. You can't keep me in the dark forever, Markus. I guess you're right. But really, relax already. It's honest work, I assure you. In this part of town this late at night? I doubt it. Alright, so what now? Just follow me. You'll understand soon enough. Markus turned around and walked to the side entrance of the building adjoining the car park. He removed the keyring from his pocket and unlocked a steel frame door, turning back for a moment to smirk as though daring me to follow him. And so I did. Following right behind Markus, I entered the dreary building, immediately confronted by a dusty staircase within. The path before us was dark, dirty, and every bit as eerie as one would think a midnight stroll in an unsavory neighborhood might be. Despite that, the staircase appeared to be maintained, or at least not dilapidated. Moreover, a bit faint. I could definitely see light coming from below. What awaited us at the bottom of the staircase was an arena. In the center was a boxing ring, and beyond that were grandstands, akin to those I'd usually see in football stadiums. Despite the massive size of the venue before us, there were only a few other people present, all mulling around near the top of the grandstands. The lights remained dim, and for all intents and purposes, Markus and I were essentially alone. So, what do you think? Pretty impressive, huh? That's one word for it. What the hell is an arena like this doing down here? I believe the word you're looking for is stadium or ring. Anyway, where else would it be? Events like this can't take place out in the open, you know, not even in Richmond. Events like these? It's just a boxing ring, right? In a way. Interested? In boxing? I'm not a fan of watching sport, but come to think about it, just wait a little longer. Another 5 minutes and this place will be open to the public. Then you can tell me if you're interested in bashing skulls for a living. While Markus and I hung around the bottom of this dark stairwell, an entrance apparently reserved for staff, spectators began to storm in from between the grandstands. Hundreds, if not thousands of spectators flooded the grandstands, soon filling the arena, which had been empty only minutes ago. The grandstands were filled, the ring gained fighters, and best of all, the betting began. Holy crap, look at all that money! Just how much are these people betting? Despite being so far away from the action, I could clearly see large stacks of money changing hands. Spectators practically threw money at the staff, taking bets, growing all the more excited as the fighters for the first match began warming up. Figures you'd jump straight to that. Yes, there is that side of business, and yes, a lucky man can make himself a small fortune down there. But competing is where the real money is, and there aren't any rules against betting on yourself either. So, let me ask you again. Are you interested? Interested in that kind of money? Well, absolutely. But as far as competing goes, actually, Markus does have a point. If I learned how to fight professionally, then proceeded to bet on myself, I could make a lot of money. It would also give me an outlet, somewhere to vent my frustration, rather than on unsuspecting victims like Mudo. But that's the best case scenario. Realistically, I might not even land a hit on my opponent, let alone prove proficient enough to profit from a career in boxing. I could just end up broken and broke, worse off than ever. Maybe, but I'd rather find a more stable source of income. Your loss. But if that's how you feel, then I suggest you set your sights on the man above the grandstand to your left. Despite our poor vantage point, I did as Markus suggested and gazed towards the grandstand to the left of the boxing ring. Above the grandstand was a glass panel, a viewing booth, with a single shadow being cast from within. Behind that bulletproof glass is the owner of this fine establishment, Mr. Karasu. Impress him and you can make a comfortable living without ever setting foot inside the ring. Now that is worth noting. A place like this must rake it in. I'd be foolish not to try and get in on something like this. Make a living? How? What kind of business does he run? Forget I said anything. Let's just make a silly bet between friends, okay? Who do you think will win this next match? Macho Man or the little Jap? With both fighters for the next match already center stage, I could clearly tell who Markus was referring to. Before us were two men in their 30s, one in blue trunks and one in red. In blue was a Caucasian male. From my position, he appeared to be at least 6 foot tall, with the shoulder width to match his impressive stature. His opponent seemed to be a head shorter, a Japanese man with a slim build, probably a martial artist of some variety. I'm sure they're both professionals, given their presence here, but if I'm asked to choose the victor, I'd say the Japanese man. The Jap. I'd rather not make bets with Markus, but I guess it can't hurt if there aren't any stakes. Alright then, I guess Macho Man is mine. With our bets having been placed, neither one of us said a word as we waited for the match to begin. Even if we wanted to talk, it took enough concentration to simply observe from such a distance, let alone speak. If not for their significant difference in stature, I doubt I'd have been able to tell the fighters apart. The instant the bell rang, the outcome had already been decided. In a split second, the massive Caucasian swept his opponent's legs, sending him to the floor. He then threw his legs around the Japanese man's arm, pushing against his elbow like a lever as it threatened to snap. The Japanese man cried out in pain as his arm bent backwards at the elbow, but his screams were overpowered by the crowd, who shouted out for blood spurring on the giant he had been pitted against. No more! I give the... The man in blue paid no heed to his opponent's pleas for mercy. Even as the Japanese man cried out in pain, forfeiting without hesitation, the giant continued, unabated, glaring at his opponent without even a hint of sympathy. Despite how overwhelmingly one-sided the fight proved to be, the crowd continued to cheer, seemingly more interested in seeing blood than a match, and also in response to their lust for violence. The Caucasian man happily carried out his job. The sound of the Japanese man's arm being snapped in two was silenced by the crowd, most of whom went quiet as its echo reached their ears. Medical staff rushed into the ring, carrying the fallen fighter out post-haste. The gamblers lined up to collect their payouts, leaving the remainder of those present in shock and awe. Not all Asians practice martial arts, you know. You'd better learn to analyze your opponents a little better if you want to become a professional fighter. Markus tried to speak to me, but whatever he had to say, I wasn't interested. Even after the match had ended, my mind was in the ring, replaying the scene that had transpired mere moments ago. I could feel the blood drain from my face even before the decisive moment, at which point there wasn't a single hair on my body not standing on end. Markus dragged me here with promises of money, making it sound like my worries were over. A legal job, one in which I could act violently and make money from doing so. Boxing fit that description, and for a moment there, I could even see myself wearing boxing gloves and trunks, duking it out with some other money-hungry athlete. But what I just saw, whatever it was, that's not happening. Markus can't possibly expect me to get in a ring like that, getting my legs broken for his sadistic boss's amusement. I may be desperate, but no sum of money is worth that. After the last of the spectators and staff members had left the stadium, only 2 figures lingered in the underground lair. Hidden behind thick glass, watching over the match from afar, the duo began to wind down as the night's festivities came to a close. What a night! I can't even remember the last time I watched a fight live. Were they always this gruesome? The pairings are usually more balanced. There's no profit in matches with obvious outcomes after all. Usually. As in, not tonight? Do you have to ask? You specifically requested that we skew the pairings so that different weight classes would fight one another. I did? Well, that doesn't sound like me. Well, you didn't put it quite like that. You wanted to find someone lean, fast, and strong, right? Someone who could punch above their weight class. Ah, right. But isn't this selection method a little counterproductive? Why are you asking me? It was your idea. Oh, I see. Well, scratch that. There has to be a less costly method, right? Yes, sir. I'll start spreading word that we're recruiting, and I'll keep your criteria in mind. No. You can't pin this one on me. It's your criteria, Sai. I wouldn't have a clue what to look for. Very well. I'll pass along my criteria and expand the recruitment drive to include younger fighters. Even then, it might take a while. Finding someone capable is only half the battle. The real challenge is finding someone who is not only emotionally and mentally stable, but also desperate for money. And ruthless enough to kill for it. Alright, well, I guess it's chapter 2. Sadist, the next day. Tuesday morning, September 6th. Well, this is all the time that I have for this episode, guys, so if you liked it, please give it a big thumbs up down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye-bye!